Hi, this is Adam.
Hey, this is Joe.
Welcome to another XFM podcast.
We hope you enjoy what we've got coming up. If you don't, I will come to your house and tickle you until you wet yourself.
I thought you were going to say fart.
No.
Wouldn't it be better just to tickle them until they fart?
If you don't enjoy this, I'm coming around to your house and I'm going to tickle you until you fart.
You know? Because if they wee themselves while you're tickling them, that could be disgusting. You might get wee on
I'll
you.
use sticks.
Yeah, really?
Tickling sticks, yeah.
Tickling sticks?
Yeah.
From Ken Dodd?
I think they exist. He didn't invent them, did he?
Yeah, I think he did.
No, they date back to the medieval times, tickling sticks.
Is a tickling stick like a duster, or is it like sticks with big plastic hands on the end?
The second one.
The plastic hands?
I think so. I'm not sure what tickling... No, you're right. It's like a duster. Ken Dodd's one's like a duster.
Yeah.
I think maybe an early tickling stick, which they've got in the V&A. It does just have prongs on the end.
Prongs?
Because there's a difference between a scratching stick and a tickling stick. You can't use a tickling stick to scratch. Anyway, that is a threat.
That is a threat.
And regardless of the details of the stick itself, I will come and I will tickle you. Yes, you! Until you make and smell.
You do a gufty. Speaking of school mags, I was going through an old mag from our school the other day, and I found the article that you mentioned a while ago.
St. Slicer's Comprehensive.
Yeah, that's right.
St. Stabs.
And because Joe Cornish, JM Cornish, I'm sorry, you call yourself
Esquire.
in this,
Yeah.
wrote an article about his trip to Venice. How old were you when you wrote this?
22.
No, you weren't. How old were you?
I was probably 13, 14.
Yeah. And it's called, there's a little illustration by you as well.
Yeah.
Have you seen that recently?
I'm multi-skilled.
Take
That's
a look at that.
beautiful, isn't it?
It's
That
amazing.
really... in fact, Venice doesn't do my drawing justice.
How long did that take you?
Oh, probably seconds.
Yeah.
I'm that good.
Well, the article is called Venice, a Peopled Labyrinth of Walls.
Oh, Cornish.
And that's a quote, though, isn't it? You didn't make that
Yeah,
up.
and I didn't make that up. That's a literary quote, Adam Buxton.
But I thought, at the risk of, I hope I won't be embarrassing you by reading out some extracts from this extraordinary piece of writing by the young J.M. Cornish.
Thank you.
And I've set certain sections to appropriate music.
Well done. Good.
Here we go.
Let's
This
have
is extracts from Venice, a Peopled Labyrinth of Walls by J.M. Cornish. It would be untrue to say that my father was a man who was prone to mistakes. In fact, the opposite could have been said. He had planned our trip to Venice with great detail, and there would be no time to spare. But as we stood beside the check-in at Gatwick and realized that he had brought my brother's passport by mistake, I started to doubt the simplicity of our journey. Oh, it's a devastating
That's
opening,
good,
isn't
it? That's good.
That's absolutely amazing. But then it gets really... You start wheeling out your incredible poetic prose here. Later on in the article, we've got this. As we proceeded, I started to notice various things. There really were striped poles in the water. The houses really did open straight out onto the canals. It was as if we had sailed into the most elaborately beautiful African river village. I felt as if this was a community that floated on an ocean of nothing.
That's so true.
That's amazing.
Thanks, man. There's a nice choice of music as well. Marla from the soundtrack of Death in Venice.
Yeah, exactly.
Directed by Luciano Visconti.
But then a bit later on in the article, there's quite a radical change of tone.
Well, that was what I was known for on the literary scene.
And this is a bit more like a travel brochure. For the traveller who's prepared to wake with the sun and walk non-stop until midnight, Venice can be experienced in 3 ways, although my father insisted we were merely scraping the surface. I trekked from one building to the next painting and watched Italian 24-hour pop videos for the rest of the time. I must admit there's nothing to do but visit churches and galleries, where some of the world's most beautiful works are to be found.
What's that music? Is that genuine Sky Travel music?
It might be. It's called the Red Fiesta.
Sky Travel is my favourite channel. That was good.
But then you wrap things up. Literally one line later, you are back into your extraordinary prose swing.
Is this the final line then? This is the closing line of the piece?
It's not, but it should be. Even I found Venice overwhelming. The wealth of artistic achievement that stands sinking is huge. I certainly think that you can't sit on this planet for a lifetime and not visit Venice. The 3 days I spent there restored my faith in man's ability to create beauty, even if it may have gone now. That's your faith, I imagine,
Really?
not man's beauty.
No, I think it's man's beauty. Wow.
Wow.
I'm amazing. or I was amazing. Yeah. And since then, in the intervening years, I've become even more amazing.
This is XFM.
Oh, sorry. Darren Brown, Magic Man. Did you see his séance?
No, I missed it.
It got the highest number of complaints. Well, no, the third highest number of complaints for any TV show ever. Coming in third behind the screening of Last Temptation of Christ and Brass Eye.
Right.
The paedophile special.
Why?
Because it's Christian people.
But he makes it clear in the
that's not good enough. That's not good enough. If you're Christian and you believe in God with conviction, then you inherently believe in the supernatural. Therefore, even if you're demonstrating that it doesn't exist, which is what Darren was doing, by showing you how you can create and manipulate people's expectations with fraudery, you're still messing with something that's real. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Yeah. So 600 called in and complained.
It's very sensitive, anything to do with religion these days, isn't it, Joe?
Oh, yes, Adam, it is.
Well, you know what I was thinking, though, because I went into Sainsbury's this week. I was doing my shop.
What's that got to do with religion?
I'm going to tell you. The lady at the checkout was singing hymns really loudly. And it was quite enjoyable. She had a nice voice.
9 Elms?
It was the 9 Elms, yeah. First of all, they were recognisable. Holy, holy, holy
I think I know that lady.
But then she just started freestyling. And she just started sort of saying, oh, Jesus, I appreciate you so much, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jesus.
It sounds lovely. What's wrong with that? Sounds
Nothing.
Lovely.
I really enjoyed it.
You'd be singing that if you were working at Sainsbury's, even if you weren't a Christian.
Well, I tell you, I thought it was...
Oh, Jesus, I wish I could go home.
I thought it was really refreshing that she was singing. But I was giggling as well because she was just freestyling in such a weird way that it was making me laugh. But I just thought it was unusual. You don't hear that very often. But it also made me think that if it was someone who maybe was a Satanist and they wanted to sing Satanist songs, I was wondering if Sainsbury's would be tolerant of that. And that would probably offend people in the way that actually singing Christian songs might offend some really loony kind of anti-religious people. I don't know.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it?
And not something you should worry about, I don't think.
I'm not that worried about it.
Let's get Alistair Crowley serving at Sainsbury's or something.
You're listening to the Adam and Joe podcast.
I went into Virgin Megastore the other day.
Yes.
And you know the way that they collect movies together on racks?
Yeah, 3 for £18 or 1 for £6.
Yeah, but they also collect them by theme. Like, it's the same sort of thing as Amazon when you buy something and they say, you might also like to buy these, or people who bought that also bought this, as if you're going to go out and... It's like a taste profile.
Yeah.
So they do the same thing in the Virgin Megastore now. It's all about taste profiling, isn't it? And they've got racks of movies that they think, you could just load up on this one type of movie and you'll be happy. And they had one rack with films like a lot of documentaries, American documentaries. Bowling for Columbine was on it, Super Size Me, Murder Ball, and Veronica Guerin. All these films were collected together under the banner, Movies for People That Think. The theory, presumably, is that you'll walk past there and you'll think, hey... I like thinking.
Well, maybe not even that, man.
I'm intelligent, aren't I? I forgot. I'm intelligent. And I'm going to buy a film that is going to make me think because I'm a thinking person.
I think you've got it wrong. I think people walk past and go, gotta buy a... This is a non-thinking person. Gotta buy a present for Marjorie. What's Marjorie like? She thinks... Marjorie thinks... What should I get her? Excuse me, I've got a friend who thinks. You got any films? And they point you over to the section for people who think. But that itself is contradictory because that involves thinking. Like, you'd have to think in order to realise that the films for thinking people were for thinking people. So we'll probably end up with a scenario where a Virgin Megastore customer just walks up to an assistant and goes, and
what do they say then?
Well, they get pointed over to the Mission Impossible 2-pack.
XFM.
Adam and Joe podcast. Brr, you're listening to a podcast. Brr.
Don't forget to check out my amazing blog at adam-buxton.co.uk.
You're listening to a podcast. You're listening podcast. Podcast.
You know, it was my mum's birthday on Thursday. We went out for a very nice meal. She listens to the show every week. Hello, Mum. You know, I actually call her Mummy.
Yeah.
But if I'm on the radio or in public, I tend to call her Mum. Do you do that? Do people out there do that? If you're in your house talking to your mummy and you call her Mummy, but if you're in the street, you go, "Here, Mum." "What, Mum?" "Yeah, Mum. That's my mum." But I can't do it. This is not what I was going to talk about, but I can't make that switch if I'm actually in front of her. Does that ever happen to you? You've got a friend round and your mother's there and you go, "Oh, and this is my mummy."
Yeah.
Like that, because you don't want your friend to think you're a ponce.
Well, at a certain point, I was watching EastEnders and I always remember Nick Cotton used to call his mother Ma.
Ma.
And I thought that would be a good way of getting round it, so I always just referred to my mum as Ma.
Right. Sometimes I go the other way. I think, okay, because I'm worried that mummy sounds too, poncy and posh. So I think, let's go even further. Mama.
You never call her
Well, sometimes,
mama.
no, it's a joke. And I go, "And this is my mama."
Yeah.
And then the person thinks, "Oh, God, you really are just a posh idiot."
Well, that's right. That's what I think about maybe calling her Ma, because I think maybe the reason Nick Cotton was doing it was as a kind of joke. It's the sort of thing that posh people do.
Mummy. And
then I just ended up being super posh.
Oh, dear. Anyway, the point is, she listens to the show every week and she really enjoys the music, but she said that she likes the music because she thinks the music's very sweet. On XFM, she thinks, and that's a good observation of the general current indie music scene. Very sweet, and she says all the boys who sing sound as if they're going to cry. She said, so, and I think that's nice, isn't it?
Absolutely,
that's a good thing. Thanks, Mummy.
I'm
going to unashamedly call you Mummy.
Yeah,
from now on. Well,
good one. What about your dad? Do you call him Daddy?
I call him Dumbles. I don't. I'm lying. I don't call him Dumbles.
I call mine Poppy Waffles.
Poppy Waffles. Not in public, though.
Yeah, in public. In private, I call him Chief.
Poppy Waffles. Do really tough people, like hard men who've maybe served time, call their mums Mummy?
It's weird, because now that I've got children myself, it's just a very natural instinct to tell them that your name is Daddy, because it's
nice to say, isn't it? It's like it's like a baby sound.
Exactly, it's cute.
It's comforting to say.
So it's difficult. I don't think there's any point at which you sort of say, "Hey, come on, you're 4 now. It's looking a bit poncy, this whole daddy business. That was fine when you were a toddler. But I want you from now on to either refer to me as Dad, Mr. Buxton."
Well, kids usually go through a phase of calling their parents by their first names, don't they?
Really?
Yeah, quite a lot of kids. I know some people who through their whole childhoods called their parents by their first names. I bet you there's listeners out there who that's the case. Like when they were 9, they'd say, "Yes, Marjorie. All right, Donald," if their parents were called Marjorie and Donald.
That's very unconventional.
It's unconventional, but it's not unheard of.
No, it's not unheard of, I agree. But when I always heard people, like if my friends were calling their parents by their first names, I'd think something is amiss in this unit. I don't like it. I've got to get out or report you to the social services.
Yes.
And usually I would.
Someone's texted in, "I call my mum Bum."
Bum?
Yes, after calling her it while drunk one night and finding it highly hilarious. And she calls me Poo, because it sounds like Lou.
Bum and
comes
Poo.
From Louise. Louise, that's a strange household.
Louise, you live in a mucky place. You've got to get out of that mucky place.
Thanks a lot for listening. There'll be another podcast up next week, full of the usual mix of old rubbish and new rubbish. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Love you. Bye.